Are you ready to face the naked truth? That truth that echoes in the awkward silence after an argument that, once again, could have been avoided. Yes, I'm talking about that uncomfortable feeling, that chill down your spine, that you are one meager and dangerous step away from destroying what you value most in your life. Think about it. A single sentence, just one, blurted out in the heat of the moment, unfiltered, without thinking. A tone of voice you didn't even realize you used, but which to her, to the woman in your life, sounded like thunder, announcing the most devastating of storms. And the bridge? That bridge of trust, affection, and complicity that you took years, maybe a lifetime, to build with her. That bridge can simply crumble, collapse in seconds. In the blink of an eye, everything can fall apart. Can you visualize that scene? I want you to visualize it now. That conversation that starts tense, a small disagreement, and suddenly words escape. They simply escape your mouth like poisoned arrows, shot without aim, but hitting her heart squarely. And her gaze, oh, her gaze. That gaze that once shone with admiration, with love, with desire, is now clouded, dull, clouded by disappointment, by hurt, by deep sadness. This, my friend, is the precipice, the abyss that countless men, good men, men who love their partners, face day after day. Without even the slightest awareness of the imminent danger that surrounds them, they stumble, they fall, and often don't even understand why. But what if I told you there's a way out, a different path? What if I told you there's a shield, an inner fortress you can build, a philosophy tested and approved for millennia, capable of radically transforming your communication, of shielding your most precious relationships and ensuring that your every word is a brick in the construction of something solid, lasting, and not a sledgehammer in the demolition of your own home? Stay here. Stay with me until the end. Because what you're about to discover isn't just about a list of things you should not say. That would be too easy, too superficial, and wouldn't solve the root of the problem. What we will uncover together, step by step, is how to become the man whose words she not only hears but yearns to hear. The man who builds cathedrals of affection, understanding, and respect with the power of the spoken word. The man she admires not only for his actions, but for the wisdom of his words. Before we dive deep into this transformative journey, you need to prepare your tools. They are few, but they are incredibly powerful. First, your Stoic Reflections journal. Don't be scared by the name, it's nothing complicated. It's a simple notebook, a notepad, maybe even a file on your phone or computer that will be your confidant, your personal self-improvement laboratory. In it, you will record your progress, your stumbles, and they will come, it's part of the process. Your victories, no matter how small they seem. Every insight, every moment of clarity. Second, we will master the negative visualization technique. Calm down, it's not about being pessimistic or expecting the worst. Quite the opposite. It's about being strategic, about anticipating challenging scenarios to be prepared. We will teach you how to apply this technique to identify, anticipate, and neutralize those impulsive reactions, those automatic responses that cause so much harm to your relationships. And third, the most fundamental of all, the central pillar of our transformation, the principle of the dichotomy of control. This will be your compass, your magnetic north on this journey. Understanding what is and what is not under your control is liberating and is the key to effective and serene communication. The rules of our universe, of our pact here, are transparent, they are direct. Each day of practice, each exercise we propose, requires a record in your journal. No exceptions, even if it's a single sentence, a fleeting thought. Record it. The internal feedback, how you felt after applying a technique, what went through your head in the moment of tension, what you would do differently next time. This feedback is the master key to your growth. And understand once and for all, this is a 30-day journey of total immersion. 30 days to reprogram a lifetime of flawed communication habits, of reactive patterns that sabotage you. Does it seem like a long time? Think about what's at stake. Think about how many sleepless nights you've lost because of words poorly spoken. Think about what you can lose if you continue down this path. And more importantly, think about what you can gain. Peace of mind, a stronger relationship, the admiration and respect of the woman you love. 30 days. It's an investment in yourself, in your future, in your happiness. First, let's go straight to the heart of the problem, to the root of so many arguments and hurts, the trap of immediate reaction. Have you ever found yourself in this situation? She's barely started talking, maybe hasn't even finished the first sentence, and you're already there, responding, interrupting, correcting. This impulse, this almost physical need to intervene, to correct what she's saying or to solve her problem instantly, as if you were the superhero who needs to save the day with unsolicited advice. This is the first and perhaps the most dangerous trap. It's the gateway to words that wound, that hurt deeply. Do you know why? Because these words are born from raw emotion, from pure reactivity, not from considered reason, not from active listening. They are words fired by your wounded ego, by your anxiety, by your need to be right, and not by your genuine desire to connect and understand. Think with me. How many times have you regretted something you said in the heat of the moment? How many times have you wished you could go back in time and hold your tongue? This immediate reaction is a conditioned reflex, a deeply rooted habit. But habits can be broken. They can be replaced by new, more constructive habits. And that's exactly what we're going to do. Let's go to our practical example, the first challenge for your Stoic Reflections journal. Imagine the scene, a common scene, one that has probably already happened to you. She comes home visibly upset, maybe frustrated, with a problem that happened at work. She starts to vent, to tell what happened, to express her feelings. What is your first inclination? For many men, the automatic reaction is to say something like, "You should have done X, Y, or Z," or "It's not a big deal, relax," or even, "I told you that would happen." You try to solve her problem or minimize her feeling. It seems logical, doesn't it? After all, you want to help, but in practice, what happens? She feels invalidated. She feels that you didn't really hear her, that you don't care about her feelings, only about the solution. And the connection, which could have been strengthened in that moment of vulnerability, breaks. Now, in our learning environment, on your 30-day journey, you're going to do things differently. You're going to simulate this scene. It can be mentally or even by talking to a trusted friend if you want to practice out loud. And when she starts talking, when your mind starts screaming solutions and judgments, you will practice active listening. What is active listening? It's listening with the intention of understanding, not with the intention of responding. It's quieting yourself externally and especially internally. It's focusing completely on what she's saying with your body and your mind. And here your journal comes in. While you practice this listening, you will mentally note, or immediately afterward, in your notebook, all your reactive impulses, everything you wanted to say but didn't, the phrases that formed on your tongue, that brilliant piece of advice you were dying to give. Write it all down, without judgment. Just observe and record. This is key event 1, day 1, the awakening of the inner observer. On the first day of this journey, your main goal is to become aware of these impulses. It's like turning on a light in a dark room. You start to see what was previously hidden. You start to notice the pattern. And this perception is the first step towards change. Don't worry about being perfect. You will fail. You will feel the impulse, and perhaps you will give in to it sometimes. That's okay. The important thing is to record it in the journal. Today, when she talked about her boss, I almost told her to quit. I managed to hold back, but I felt a huge urge. Or she was complaining about her friend, and I interrupted to say that her friend was always like that. I realized she got upset. I made a note not to do that anymore. This process of self-observation and recording is crucial. It's what will give you clarity about your triggers and your automatic reactions. The trap of immediate reaction is fueled by our need for control, by our impatience. But true strength is not in reacting, it's in choosing the response. And to choose, you need time, space. You need the pause. That pause you will start cultivating from today. Think about the difference in impact. Instead of "you should have done," but how about an attentive silence followed by a "wow, I can imagine how you must be feeling. Do you want to tell me more about it?" Do you notice the subtle but powerful difference? The first approach closes the conversation, the second opens it. The first judges, the second welcomes. And it all starts with a conscious decision not to fall into the trap of immediate reaction. This first pillar is about disarming the bomb before it explodes. It's about learning the art of hold your tongue, not out of weakness, but out of wisdom. It's about understanding that often the best response is not to respond immediately. It's about giving her emotion space to breathe and for your reason to awaken. So are you ready for this first challenge? To start filling the pages of your journal with these discoveries? If you've already identified with this trap, if you've already tasted the bitter flavor of regret for words spoken, without thinking, leave a comment below saying, "I commit to the pause." I want to see who is truly willing to start this transformation. And if you know a friend who also needs to hear this, who keeps falling into this trap, share this video with him. Remember, we're in this together. The 30-day journey has begun, and the awakening of your inner observer is just the beginning. This is the foundation. Without mastering this first stage, everything else becomes more difficult. Immediate reaction is like trying to build a house on quicksand. First, we need to firm up the ground, and the cement for that ground is your ability to observe your impulses and choose not to act on them automatically. It's an exercise in mental discipline, in self-control. And the journal is your training ground. Don't underestimate the power of simply writing things down. By writing, you externalize the thought, you analyze it from a different perspective. You distance yourself from the raw emotion and start to see the patterns. It's like a detective investigating a crime scene, the crime in this case being failed communication. What were the clues? What was the trigger? What was your standard reaction? What could you have done differently? These questions, answered day after day in your journal, will transform you. Believe it. The repetition of practicing active listening, even if simulated at first, will create new neural pathways in your brain. You are literally reprogramming yourself. And the most incredible thing is that by focusing on not reacting immediately, you start to really listen. You start to notice nuances in her voice, in her body language, that previously went unnoticed. You start to understand what's behind the words. And this understanding is pure gold for building deep connections. So, the task for the next few days is clear. Observe, listen, don't react impulsively, and record everything in your journal. This is your first great test of endurance and consciousness. And I know you can do it. Second, now that you've started to identify and curb the trap of immediate reaction, let's build upon this solid foundation. Let's talk about the immense power that resides in strategic silence and deep listening. It sounds counterintuitive, doesn't it? In a world that values those who talk the loudest, who always have a quick answer, proposing silence as a tool of power might sound strange. But believe me, my friend, silence, when used with intention, is one of the most potent weapons of the effective communicator. And deep listening is the indispensable complement to that silence. It's not just about being quiet while the other person talks. It's much more than that. It's about immersing yourself in the other person's world, trying to see the world through their eyes, feeling with their heart. Remember the principle of the dichotomy of control, one of our fundamental tools. It applies perfectly here. You don't control what the other person says, how they feel, or how they react, but you completely control your own reaction. You control whether you will interrupt or whether you will listen to the end. You control whether you will judge or whether you will try to understand. And it is in this control over yourself that your strength lies. Strategic silence is not an empty, awkward silence. It is a silence that communicates respect, that says, "I am here for you. Your words are important to me. I want to understand what you are going through." When she is talking, especially if it's something emotionally charged, resist the temptation to fill every pause with your words. Let the silence work. Often it is in that space of silence that she can organize her own thoughts, that she feels safe to go deeper into the issue, to reveal what is truly bothering her. And deep listening. It's listening not only to the words, but also to what's between the lines. It's paying attention to body language, to tone of voice, to the emotions that are being expressed, even subtly. It's making eye contact, showing with your body that you are present, fully there for her. No cell phone in hand, no looking at the television, no thinking about your to-do list while she talks. Total focus, total presence. In your Stoic Reflections journal, you will start recording not only your reactive impulses that were contained, but also the moments when you practiced strategic silence and deep listening. How was it? Was it difficult? What did you notice in her when you acted this way? What did you feel? Maybe you'll note, today she was very irritated by the traffic. I would normally tell her to leave earlier, but I remembered the silence. I stayed quiet, just listening to her vent. In the end, she thanked me for listening. I was surprised. Or she was telling me about a strange dream she had. I really paid attention, asked questions to understand better, instead of just saying, "That's crazy." She seemed to like it, kept talking for a long time, and we ended up laughing together. It was a different connection. This is Key Event Week 1, Mastering the Conscious Pause and Active Listening. In the first week, the focus is on consolidating what we started on the first day. It's about transforming impulsive non-reaction and attentive listening into a more consistent habit. And strategic silence is the key to this. It gives you time to process, to think before speaking. It prevents you from saying the first thing that comes to mind, which is usually the wrong thing. Think of silence as a shield and deep listening as radar. The shield protects you from reacting destructively, and the radar helps you capture the essential information for a constructive response when it's the right time to speak. And when is the right time to speak? Generally, after she has finished expressing herself completely, after you truly feel that you have understood her perspective. And even then, your first words don't have to be a solution or a judgment. They can be validation, something we will explore further on. For now, focus on mastering the art of listening, of truly listening. This in itself will transform the dynamic of your conversations. She will feel more respected, more understood, more connected to you, and you will feel calmer, more in control, less likely to get into useless arguments. Silence and listening are skills that require practice. Don't expect to become a master overnight. There will be moments when the old reactivity will speak louder. Embrace those moments as learning opportunities. Go back to the journal, analyze what happened, and commit to trying again. Every attempt is a step in the right direction. And if you're enjoying these tips, if they're starting to make sense to you, don't forget to like this video. Your like tells me we're on the right track, that this content is helping you. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, do it now. We have much more to share on this 30-day journey. Strategic silence is also a way to demonstrate confidence. Confidence in yourself, in your ability to handle the situation without needing to assert yourself all the time. And confidence in her ability to find her own solutions, if that's the case. Often people don't want advice, they just want to be heard. They want a safe space to vent, to be themselves, without filters and without judgment. Be that space for her. Use silence to create that environment of safety and trust, and use deep listening to truly connect with her soul. You will be surprised at the depth your relationships can reach when you master these two simple, yet incredibly powerful tools. Remember the principle of the dichotomy of control. You don't control the storm outside, but you can control your boat. Silence and listening are your anchor and your rudder. They keep you steady and on course even when the waters are rough. Continue recording in your journal. Today I practiced silence for 5 minutes while she talked about a problem. It was difficult, but I managed. I noticed she calmed down on her own. Or I tried deep listening, focusing on her eyes. I noticed she smiled more. Small victories. Big transformations. The first week is crucial. It's about building the foundation. Don't get discouraged. Keep practicing. Silence and listening are your allies. Third, we advance on our journey. You are already more aware of your immediate reactions. You have experienced the power of strategic silence and deep listening. Now, let's add another layer of sophistication to your communication. Let's talk about the art of clarifying questions and the superpower of emotional validation. Because listening is fundamental, but at some point you will need to interact verbally, and the way you do it can build bridges or erect walls. After listening attentively, after giving her space to express herself, instead of jumping to conclusions or solutions, how about asking questions, but not just any questions? Clarifying questions. Questions that show you were listening and that you want to understand even better. Open-ended questions that invite reflection and dialogue, instead of closed questions that only allow a yes or no answer, or worse, questions that already embed a judgment. For example, instead of saying, "Don't you think you exaggerated a little?" how about asking, "What else bothered you about that situation?" Or "How did you feel when that happened?" Do you notice the subtle but powerful difference? The first question is accusatory, defensive. The second is curious, empathetic. The first closes communication, the second expands it. Clarifying questions. Have a few objectives to ensure you correctly understood what she meant, avoiding misunderstandings that cause conflict. To show her that you are genuinely interested, and often to help the person herself better understand her own feelings and thoughts. Something like, "So, if I understand correctly, what upset you most was the feeling of not being recognized, is that right?" Or, "Can you give me a specific example of what he said that hurt you so much?" These questions are like an archaeologist's tools, carefully digging to reveal hidden treasures beneath the surface. And here comes our other tool, the negative visualization technique, in a slightly different way. Before a potentially difficult conversation, or even during a conversation, you can use negative visualization to anticipate her possible emotional reactions and prepare to validate them rather than combat them. If you know a certain topic is sensitive to her, visualize her expressing frustration, sadness, or anger, and visualize yourself responding not with defense or attack, but with validation, which leads us directly to emotional validation. This is perhaps one of the most valuable gifts you can offer in a relationship. Validating someone's emotion doesn't mean agreeing with the facts or the person's interpretation of the facts. It simply means recognizing and accepting that her emotion is real and legitimate for her in that moment. It's saying implicitly or explicitly, "I understand that you are feeling this way, and it's okay to feel this way." How many arguments could be avoided if we simply validated each other's feelings? Instead of saying, "There's no reason for you to be so mad about this," how about, "Oh, I can imagine you must be really upset about that. You had planned it for a long time." Even if you don't think her reason for being angry is logical from your point of view, her emotion is real. Denying her emotion is like saying she doesn't have the right to feel what she feels, and that is deeply invalidating and painful. Emotional validation creates safety, connection, and open space for problem solving. When a person feels heard and validated, she tends to calm down and become more receptive to finding solutions if needed. In your Stoic Reflections journal, start recording your attempts to use clarifying questions and practice emotional validation. Note the questions you asked. How did she react? Note the moments when you tried to validate a feeling of hers. Was it natural? Was it difficult? What was the result? For example, she was anxious about a presentation. Instead of saying, "It will be fine," I asked, "What specifically worries you about this presentation?" She talked for 10 minutes and then said she felt better just by talking. Or, she was sad because a friend cancelled a plan. My impulse was to say that the friend was inconsiderate, but I remembered validation and said, "Oh, I imagine you must be pretty upset about that. You had planned it for a long time." She looked at me differently, more gently. This is key event, days 10-15, the turnaround, from reaction to connection. Around the second week, with consistent practice, you will start to feel a real change. Conversations will flow better. There will be less tension, fewer defensive arguments. You will start to feel like you are truly connecting with her on a deeper level, and that is incredibly rewarding. The art of clarifying questions and emotional validation requires practice and sensitivity. It's not a magic formula, but rather an approach that over time will become more natural. Remember, the goal is not to manipulate, but to understand and connect. And if you are finding this content valuable, if you're starting to see how these techniques can revolutionize your relationships, how about leaving a comment saying, "I want to connect, not correct"? It's a way to reinforce your commitment to this new way of communicating. Also, share it with that friend who is always at loggerheads in relationships. Maybe he needs this insight. The combination of deep listening, clarifying questions, and emotional validation is a powerful triad. It transforms arguments into dialogues, it transforms conflicts into opportunities for growth, and it transforms you into a much more attractive and trustworthy partner. Don't underestimate the impact of making someone feel truly heard and understood. It is one of the pillars of emotional intimacy. And you have the tools to build this, day by day, conversation by conversation. Continue. With your journal, detail the situations. I tried to validate her anger, but I think I sounded fake. I need to practice my tone of voice. Excellent observation. That's self-analysis. I asked an open question and she opened up in a way she never had before. It was amazing. That's progress. Each entry in the journal is another step in your evolution as a conscious communicator. Remember the principle of the dichotomy of control. You don't control whether she will open up or not, but you control the quality of your questions and the sincerity of your validation. Focus on your side of the equation, and the results will come. Believe in the process. Believe in yourself. This turnaround from days 10 to 15 is when the magic starts to happen more visibly. Stay focused. Fourth, we have reached a crucial point in our transformation journey. You have already learned to avoid immediate reaction, to practice silence and listening, to ask questions that open doors and validate emotions. But effective communication is not just about listening and understanding the other person. It's also about expressing yourself, about communicating your own boundaries, your needs, your opinions, clearly, firmly, and above all, respectfully. This is the fourth pillar, the voice of respectful firmness, your boundaries, your words. Many men confuse assertiveness with aggressiveness, or they lean towards the other extreme, passivity, swallowing bitter pills to avoid conflict, which invariably leads to resentment and future outbursts. True strength lies in balance, being able to stand your ground, to say no when necessary, to express dissatisfaction or a need without attacking, without blaming, without disrespecting the other person. And here, once again, Stoic principles, especially the dichotomy of control, are our guides. You control what you say and how you say it. You don't control how the other person will receive or react to your message, but you can and should strive to communicate as constructively as possible, aiming for the best outcome for the relationship, not just for your ego. Communicating boundaries is essential for the health of any relationship. If you don't set your boundaries, people, even those who love you, can end up crossing them, often without even realizing it. And this generates frustration, pent-up anger, and eventually a big problem. But how to communicate a boundary without seeming selfish or aggressive? The key is in non-violent communication, or something close to it. Focus on expressing your feelings and needs, rather than making accusations or judgments about the other person's behavior. For example, instead, give saying, "You are very inconsiderate, you're always late and you leave me waiting," which is an accusation and a judgment. You could say, "When you are late for our plans, I feel disrespected, and I get anxious because I value our time together. I need us to try to be more punctual." Do you notice the structure? When you to X, specific behavior without judgment. I feel Y, you're feeling, because Z, your need or value. I would like, need you to A, clear and specific request. This structure, known as nonviolent communication, NVC, in its fundamentals, is powerful because it focuses on your internal experience and makes a request rather than a demand or a destructive criticism. In your Stoic Reflections journal, this is the time to start practicing identifying your own boundaries and needs. Often, we ourselves don't even have clarity about them. Ask yourself, what is non-negotiable for me in a relationship? What behaviors make me feel disrespected, sad, or anxious? What are my emotional needs that are not being met? After identifying these points, start thinking about how you could communicate them using a more assertive and less reactive approach. You can even rehearse these conversations mentally or by writing down scripts in your journal. For example, I realized I get very uncomfortable when she looks through my phone without asking. My boundary is privacy. I will say, "Honey, when you take my phone without telling me, I feel my privacy is invaded. I would like you to ask me first, please." Or, "I miss having time just for us without interruptions. My need is connection." I will say, "I feel that lately we haven't had much quality time, just the two of us, and that makes me feel a little distant. I really need those moments with you. How about we set aside one evening a week just for us?" This is key event, days 20-30, the consolidation of the conscious communicator. In the final weeks of our 30-day journey, the focus is on integrating all the skills learned and starting to use them not only to listen and understand, but also to express yourself authentically and respectfully. It's about finding your voice, a voice that is both firm and gentle, a voice that builds mutual respect. Remember, assertiveness is not a guarantee that you will always get what you want. The other person has the right to have their own needs and boundaries. But assertive communication drastically increases the chances of you finding solutions that work for both of you, or at the very least, of understanding each other, even if you disagree. And that is infinitely better than resentful silence or destructive aggression. If you are committed to finding this voice of respectful firmness, to learning how to communicate your boundaries in a healthy way, leave a like on this video so I know you are ready for this step. And if you haven't subscribed yet, now is the time, because we are reaching the final stretch of our initial journey, but the learning continues. It's also important to be prepared for her reaction. Even communicating in the most respectful way possible, she may initially react defensively, especially if she is not used to you expressing your boundaries in this manner. Here, the dichotomy of control is your ally. You control your communication, not her immediate reaction. Stay calm, use the listening and validation techniques you learned, and reaffirm your point of view with respect, if necessary. I understand. This may be difficult to hear, and it's not my intention to hurt you, but this is really important to me. Practice makes perfect. Don't expect to get it right on the first try. In your journal, note the attempts, the successes, the difficulties. I tried to talk about dividing household chores. I started well, but when she disagreed, I got nervous and went back to the old pattern of accusing. I need to work on staying calm under pressure. Or, I managed to say no to a request of hers that I really didn't want to do, and I explained why calmly. She didn't like it at the time, but later she understood. I felt a huge relief. Every experience is a step. The consolidation of the conscious communicator is about this: integrating, practicing, refining. It's about becoming the man who not only listens with empathy, but who also speaks with wisdom and courage. A man who respects himself and, therefore, is able to deeply respect his partner. This ability to communicate boundaries and needs effectively is what transforms good relationships into extraordinary relationships, where both feel seen, heard, and respected. Continue using your journal as your laboratory. Experiment with phrases. Observe your emotions as you prepare for these conversations. Visualize the scenario, applying the negative visualization technique to anticipate possible obstacles and the best way to navigate them, always maintaining respect and calm. You are building an inner fortress, not just to protect your relationship, but to become a more authentic and powerful version of yourself, and that is a lifelong achievement. We have reached the end of our intensive 30-day journey, but in reality, this is just the beginning of your new way of communicating, of relating, of living. Quickly recapping, we started with the bold promise of transforming your communication to shield your relationships, avoiding that destruction caused by thoughtless words. We presented your tools, the Stoic Reflections Journal, the negative visualization technique, and the fundamental principle of the dichotomy of control. First, you delved into the trap of immediate reaction, learning to identify and curb those impulses that cause so much harm, awakening your inner observer. It was your day one, the ground zero of change. Then in the second phase, we explored the power of strategic silence and deep listening, mastering the conscious pause in your first week, understanding that truly listening is an act of power and connection, guided by the dichotomy of control. Next, in the third step, we unveiled the art of clarifying questions and the transformative impact of emotional validation, marking the turnaround from reaction to genuine connection around days 10 to 15, using negative visualization to prepare to welcome her emotions. And finally, in the fourth pillar, we worked on the voice of respectful firmness, learning to communicate your boundaries and needs assertively and empathetically, consolidating your role as a conscious communicator from days 20 to 30. Do you see the path you have traveled? Do you see the transformation you have begun? This journey was not just about what not to say, but about how to become the man whose words she yearns to hear. A man who builds, who connects, who inspires safety and admiration. The journal, visualization, the dichotomy of control. These are not tools to be used for 30 days and then forgotten. They are your companions for life. Continue recording your reflections. Continue practicing strategic anticipation. Continue focusing on what you can control. There will be days when you will slip, when old habits will try to resurface. It's normal, don't blame yourself, just acknowledge, learn from the mistake, record it in your journal, and get back on track. Mastery comes from constant practice, from persistence, from kindness to yourself during the process. What you have built here in these 30 days is a solid foundation. Now continue raising the pillars of your castle of conscious communication. Remember that initial image, the bridge collapsing. Now visualize a different bridge, a solid, resilient bridge built with the right words, with attentive listening, with mutual respect. A bridge that not only withstands storms, but that is strengthened by them. This is the bridge you are building, and you are the architect. The responsibility is yours, the power is yours. Don't stop now. Transformation is continuous. Keep challenging yourself, keep learning, keep growing. The man you have become over these 30 days is just a glimpse of the extraordinary man you can be. Believe it, live it, and watch your relationships flourish like never before. This is not goodbye, but see you soon. Keep applying, keep evolving. And remember, your words have the power to create or destroy. Choose to create, always.